UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Good evening and welcome to Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangweso. Today we look at a very contentious issue that has been lingering for the past 2 years. You could even put it as far as 14 years if you're looking at the eastern part of the country. The dilemma of the Balaalo and the Acholi sub-region. The questions around vulnerability, identity, but most of all, a sense of belonging. The question came with the Executive Order number 2 that recently came out last week from the President. Directives giving them the optimum reason to leave today. Today, the 25th of June, was the day that eviction was supposed to be happening. Does that mean that the people, that Article 29 of the Constitution that gives you free settlement in any part of the country, does that contravene this? Is this lawful? And why is it that the President isn't making decisions in this area? So the Balaalo have to leave the Acholi sub-region, and the President made the orders as some of these things were said in his orders. The President said with immediate effect, he bans their presence in all respective areas. He has also gone ahead to ask the Attorney General to draft a law criminalizing or unsanctioning nomadic practices of cattle herders. In this Executive Order number 2, the President said they were indisciplined in their movement, but also says if there is any audit to happen there, they should first leave, then the audit will take place. The Balaalo have gone ahead to petition Parliament. They have also gone ahead to put their petitions before court today. And this issue has men who are going to discuss it today. I'll start on my extreme left. The Minister in charge of Northern Uganda, Dr. Kenneth Omona, is with us this evening to put perspective to some of these discussions. Good evening, Honorable Minister, and it's good to have you.
Very good evening, Timothy, and a very good evening to Prof. and all the panelists here, Andrew Menda and my brother there. And a very good evening to all our viewers, sure. Glad to be here.
We shall give you the subtitles of whatever the Honorable Minister has said. Next to the Honorable Minister is someone that we enjoy having his company here, Professor Maurice Ogenga Latigo, a senior citizen, a veteran politician at that, a farmer. Good evening, Prof, and it's good to have you.
Thank you very much. The viewers don't know I call you General. Your dad was one of those very outstanding military officers in the country, and and the memory can't go away because I was already a substantive person on life.
An incredible man.
My brother, Minister Kenneth Olesegun. My brother who wants to be my grandfather. And Andrew, it's amazing. I tried to get in touch with him. Kumbe, his number was on my phone. When he called, the number appeared. And then our colleague, the panelist, I meet him for the first time. So when he's introduced. And of course the viewers, and like you said, it is not only you enjoy, I also enjoy being on this program, and I enjoy the fact that people watch, even when it is late, they watch. The last one was very nice. We cut a birthday cake here and sang happy birthday, and that is how this country ought to be.
Thank you very much, Professor.
Yeah.
The grandfather of the whole country, 112 years at that, Chief Executive Officer of the Independent Magazine, Old Man of the Clan, Mr. Andrew Mwenda Mujuni.
And Men of Broken Hearts.
No, these titles. I was going to compare you to him. Good evening, Andrew, and it's good to have you.
I have a picture actually at home of 25th January 1972. So it's Idi Amin in front with your dad. At that time was the Kano Nyangweso and Kano Toko behind him.
Yes.
So you can imagine I have known you since I was 60 years old in 1972.
Lastly but not least, Kennedy Okello, a publicist, head of the research at Joa Landowners and Livestock Farmers Association. Kennedy, good evening, and it's good to have you.
Good evening, Leo. Good evening, Timothy, and I'm happy to share this panel with the minister, professor, and the old man of the clan. And for professor, I need to remind you we are in the Africa and the presidential CEO forum, and later in the board of research. I also pay a visit to you in Chicago, in the company of Sandus, and represented 17 when you are so nice to meet you again, and I hope to learn from the senior elders here.
Thank you. Thank you. You can be part of the show. Join us on YouTube. Drop your comment there. Let us know what you think. But also, we are streaming live on the space on X, UBC Live there. Just get there, drop your comment. Let us know what you think. The number to text us or WhatsApp us is 0709 60 25 92. Let us know what your thoughts are. And I see some messages already coming in about the conversation we're having here. In March, around March, May of 2023, the president gave the first executive order, number 3. And in there, foot and mouth disease came in and stopped that execution of that executive order. But also he gave guidelines, and the guidelines were only in 3 areas. 1, they needed to fence with 4 lines of fencing there. They also needed to make sure that the ownership they have of land is legal and it's on value. The third one was to make sure that the water places are within the enclosed places. But the challenge has continued to go on into 2024 and now into 2025. And it seems at the helm of this, many have left. The number of people that live in the Acholi sub-region is about 2.2 million. The number of Balaalo that are in that region, and the region of about 15,000. Heads of cattle about 1 million, and many have decided to leave in the interim between 2024 and currently. What is the biggest issue here? Let me start with Andrew. Andrew, because you hold a view to see exactly what happened here, let's start with the executive orders. Number 3, number 2, and when you look at what the president said, and he details a few things in there, what do you make of them?
My grandson.
I was going
Timothy.
to start from the historical perspective.
Yes. First of all, I'm going to be very blunt. I disagree with President Museveni 100%. And
Why?
I think he is playing very, very dangerous politics. This country is called Uganda. Every Ugandan has a right to settle in any part of Uganda, and it's in the constitution.
Article 29, E.
It doesn't matter whether I was born in Kigezi, I can go and live in Karamoja. And that must be defended, and that's what creates this country called Uganda. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, and I have gone to Parong and to Gulu and sat with General Saleh. I think the one person who has studied this issue of Balaalo comprehensively, more than anybody else, is General Salim Saleh. And he has given me voluminous information about this subject. The following things can be noted. 1, the Balaalo who have gone to northern Uganda, specifically Acholi region, went there, met community leaders, individual families and clans, and bought land legally or rented that land legally. I do not know of a single landowner, whether it's a family, a clan, or an individual, who has complained that the people occupying his land robbed it from them. I've seen some people here in Buganda who claim land grabbing. There is no claim of land grabbing in northern Uganda. To even be much more concerned about the dangers Museveni is doing, and this is anti-Museveni, by the way. So I'm speaking on behalf of Mr. Yoweri Museveni that I know, not this politician looking for cheap popularity. There are many white people who have farms in Acholi. Omona and Atigo can confirm that for me. No one is complaining against them. There are many Asians who have plantations there. No one is complaining about them. This is a very tribalistic, ethnicized argument. The Chief Justice and other politicians in northern Uganda who are orchestrating this, in their very narrow minds, don't understand that they are opening a Pandora's box, because the Chief Justice himself, who is my grandson, by the way, first of all, I should tell you, like me, I have an ancestry in his village and the village of the Chief Justice, Winyidolo. I can recite here my grandparents. If I finish 5, 6, immediately they all become O. If you come to my compound at home, and have taken Minister Norbert Mao there, the late Ruby Okele took him there, I have kids there, my cousin's kids in our compound. One is called Ochaki, another one is called Oli. I have a cousin who does plumbing at home, is called Ochaya. Don't you have those names, sir? So this claim to say that somehow the Balaalo and Acholi are different peoples is a fiction of, first hold on a second, is a fiction of the colonial state, which must be resisted. These Balaalo are going back home. All of us Ugandans belong to the same thing. We have same ancestry. You can go to among the Bahima communities in Nyabusho's there. You will find my wife has brothers. If I picked any of her brothers and I took them on the street in Lango, in Lira or Gulu, she's a Mhima. But the Acholi there would immediately see those boys as their own. So these fictions that were created by colonialism, that there are Bantus, then there are Luos, I don't understand. The Milton Obote, with whom I did autobiographical interviews, let me also add this. He told me a story, you should read, because they published them in the Monitor. He said when Kabalega was captured, he was under the protection of his father. His father was the chief of Kabalega in Lango. So this, I hope Latigo, my grandson, and you, Mona, you are not involved in this kind of thing. To say that Ugandans who went through willing buyer, willing seller, acquired land in Acholi should be evicted, I find it an outrage. It's against the constitution of Uganda, it's against the politics of Yoweri Museveni, it's against the politics of the NRM, it's against the ideology of Pan-Africanism, it's against even Ugandanness. And let me tell you another thing that makes me extremely upset with Museveni on this matter. There is for you to acquire land there, government put their procedures. You must go and sign with an LC1, LC3, you have to sign with the GISO and the RDC. What do? You have to get the documentation showing that you actually acquired land from legally and legitimately, those two things, from a clan or a family group. Once you have accumulated this pile of documents, you take them to Ministry of Agriculture. At the Ministry of Agriculture, the minister has to sign and approve that now you are a legitimate owner or leasee, they call him leasee of land. Once the minister has signed, you go to the department, something to do with the control of disease. They have to approve and give you a permit to move your cows. So there are government procedures that are elaborate and comprehensive, legal and legitimate, through which Balaalo have gone there. You have read there. In 2023, 2024, the president even said, okay, some people are complaining, neighbors, that your cows are going to, in Rutoro, called Kuona. What do you call it in Acholi? There is a language, Kuona is for my cows break into your garden and eat your crops. Okay, if neighboring people to the Balaalo are complaining, that's a legitimate complaint. The president said, okay, to avoid Kuonesa, people's whatevers, you ensure that 90% of the Balaalo within 6 months complied with that directive. These people who are being evicted, they have already complied. The Balaalo have invested a lot of money in that area. So I am wondering, the president's conditions were met. Why is he shifting the goalposts? Please, can somebody explain to me? So people have been going through protracted legal processes, and we do not even have any landowner there who is complaining. So on whose behalf is the Chief Justice and other politicians? And they're trying to raise ethnic sentiments. Now, let me finish with my point. Each one of us seated here, Omona there, Ratigo here. My grandson, what's your name?
Kennedy.
Kennedy Okello. This is a twin. All of them have plots and own property in Buganda. I appeal to you, Baganda, you behave like these politicians from northern Uganda and ask all of us to be evicted from here. Why should Ugandans, Acholis, Batoro and Basamia have a right to come to Buganda, buy land, build houses, set up farms, but Balaalo don't have that right in Acholi. Finally, me I come from a kingdom called Toro. I think more than 50%. We have Bachiga, we have Bakonjo, we have Bamba, we are living peacefully. There was a time some Batoro politicians were trying to say, Bachiga, don't come here, we don't want migrants. In Bunyoro, there was this problem of Wafruki, saying Wafruki should not stay here. And Museveni was playing that kind of ethnic politics, which he accused Obote of playing, which Obote never did, by the way. Obote was the most nationalistic of whatever. It is Museveni who is ethnicizing these things. Has Bunyoro fallen apart because Bachiga migrated there? Bachiga are Ugandans, they should be free to move and settle in every place. We have a Ugandan-born son of Professor Mahabun Mamdani, Zohran Kwame Mamdani. He has just been elected as a Democratic candidate for mayor of New York. Obama, I think, was born in Hawaii, but he became a senator for Chicago, for Illinois, the state of Illinois, where the state of Chicago is. I think this lady was born in, I can't remember where, Hillary Clinton, but she became mayor, rather senator for New York. I want to go, in fact, I'm going to run in Acholi as a candidate for parliament.
Okay.
Because every Ugandan should be free to run wherever they are. But this thing of saying that Balaalo, a certain tribe, must be evicted, who have bought land legally and legitimately, have negotiated and fulfilled all legal obligations, this is a travesty of every single thing Museveni fought for in this country. I'm really, really, really disappointed. Mr. Yoweri Museveni, you know today, if you did the right thing, I would defend you with my life. On this one, you are so wrong, and
Okay.
I'm embarrassed on your behalf.
Thank you. Let me come to Professor Latigo. Professor, when you look at this issue, and there was an executive order 3 that was evicting, then it gave guidelines, then there was foot and mouth disease. Now we have executive order 2. Honorable Minister, who is there, actually had orders to make sure that eviction happened by the 15th of June, which had elapsed. Now we're on 25th. This came out last week. What do you make of these executive orders, and what are the sentiments that were missing in this whole picture?
Well, thank you very much, and I thank Andrew for his bluntness. The only thing he forgot to mention is that I actually went to bury his father.
That's so true. So he came to his own village.
I went to bury his father. If I go for the Mpango in Toro, in fact the last one was leader of opposition, we normally assume the president would come late. That day he came early. And the area member of parliament, because I'm leader of opposition, didn't know how to place me, so he put me behind. And then this guy became a prime minister later, was of municipality MP. Then at some stage, the Queen Mother called. And I saw him coming now with almost tears in his eyes, because the Queen Mother told him to move me from there and put me in front. When I go to Toro, I'm extremely comfortable. If I go to any part of this country, I'm extremely comfortable. The argument of Mwenda misses the point, which is the fundamental point. If you go to Acholi, you will find in some places Madope. The Madis were there. If you go, you'll find even the father of the bishop of Arua, Anglican bishop of those days, was settled in Gulu. And every community you can talk of are there. But they are there by a simple process, a human process of assimilation, which is the same process that now you'll see people who many people assumed were Baganda beginning to talk about who they are in Buganda. Many people came to work they became friends and relatives with the local Baganda, adapted their culture, adapted their names, acquired assets, and they became, by identity, virtually the Baganda. If the Balaalo were going to Acholi and raising their animals with the rest of the Acholis and relating to them, that process of assimilation, I can tell you, nobody would point a finger. But what is happening is a very unfortunate thing, because you have a people in northern Uganda, in Acholi, who went through the war. After the war, actually the land crisis started long before the Balaalo came. I had a professor from Oxford who came and met me. I was in my farm, and the professor, when I told him, I said, you know, people are not grabbing Acholi lands. The problem now is that young people will see no alternative in life, will pick their own, even their own parents' land, and sell it. To do what? To buy a border, to drink, maybe impress a woman. Now the consequence of that is that the society on which they should grow is crumbling. And the guy said, oh, here goes my research. Because his information was that somebody was grabbing Acholi land. We are not talking about grabbing land, because the land in Acholi is huge. It's bigger than Rwanda. But we are talking about a process where if you are interested in doing farming in Acholi, either your farming must relate to how they live, or you will find natural resistance, or you come and grow your activity in such a way that as you grow your activity, you even learn, you have friends, you have a few words that you can exchange. Now that kind of process, there would be no crisis. And that process, you cannot contest it, because you will have no basis, whether morally, culturally, or legally, to contest it. But just think of it, that Acholi that used to have lots of cattle, that lost their cattle in war, and all of a sudden, some guys come, and because the other guys are so poor, all these things about LCs, it doesn't change the fact that you are dealing with a community that is in poverty. There ought to have been concrete government programs. All these NUSAF were programs that in the end never had roots in Acholi. Those who, you remember this guy in Prime Minister's office, this thing is still even in jail. People just ate the money. If they had involved us, I remember the very early program when the late Agat Didi was minister for Northern Uganda. You know, because he saw that I understood it very well. We would actually go to World Bank meeting. He would leave his PS and go with me. And I was a member of parliament. So that is the problem. Secondly, if you are faced with this kind of challenges, and then you see what is happening, Mwenda will come and talk very strongly. My brother there will come and say, we are association of land sellers, and we say this. And then you have a meeting. And that meeting is, if you have a meeting in Kigumba and everybody else who is there looks like from one community, is that not tribal? How would we look at your meeting? Has any of those people appealed to senior citizens of our communities like us and said, look, this is a problem we are facing. How can we deal with it? But the issue is that after so many years of war that destroyed the progress, by the way, let nobody fool you. Acholis led this country on many grounds. Gureme one time wrote, and after Onyango Bo, and talked about in the Kachoke Madit in London, how many actually PhD people appeared there. People don't know that some of the earliest professors in Makerere, J.J. Oloya, first African Dean, Semei Nyanzi, and Kibaki, they were the first African lecturers. And if actually we are not discriminatory, Semei Nyanzi is Semei Nyanzi, but he comes from Agago with me and him. He came from Agago, but he's Semei Nyanzi. So let the idea that Acholis are tribalistic be thrown away. We are not. Nyamwe, is it Nyamwe Andao, Commissioner for Agriculture? He married from Kalongo when we were small kids, from Ankole. Rugunda's son married in Atiak. We have our own children who are married in Buganda, from all over. We are not, Acholis are not tribalistic. And this is not about tribalism. This is about recognizing that we have gone over the years of the NRM government, particularly coming into power. We had gone through trauma and difficulties. If you want to, if the government of Uganda, and this is where I can agree with Mwenda in blaming the president, that if we had a systematic agricultural development policy, and we'll say actually has potential for livestock. And by the way, even when we were students, Professor Kiua taught us animal production. You do all the geographical parameters. The best place to do livestock, beef livestock in Uganda is Acholi. There's no other place in Uganda, none. So yes, the potential is there. And those guys who have gone and bought land see the potential. But how they have gone there is very insensitive and very inconsiderate. When it is like that, it becomes a matter of emotion rather than logic. And some of us have not talked much. When that matter the last time came, I was interviewed. And I said, I want to tell Salim Saleh and his brother that we Acholis have a saying that Kopti Yubo, Kopti Yadunu, meaning there are fundamental issues in the lung and in the heart. If those fundamental issues are not dealt with and brought out, no matter how good the cattle keeping of the Balaalo in Acholi may be, it will be rejected by our people. President Museveni had started a process which we urge that it should continue so that we resolve the issue of the war and the consequences of the war and create a situation of matoput.
Professor, what are these fundamental issues in the lungs and the heart, as you say? Because you mentioned assimilation, but what are these fundamental issues?
That we are how we are now because of the war. That when they were fighting in Luero, all the things that happened there, they would say Abacholi. And yet, we had Acholi commanders, Kennedy Kilama, Eric Odua. Ask if anybody has a complaint against them. You don't find. And they were the commanders in Luero. My own cousin brother died in Luero. So when they even take our people to look at the skulls, how do you know that the skull you are seeing is not the skull of my brother who died there?
Okay.
So, fundamentally, let us rethink this program. Yes, the president is president of Uganda because of politics. He's not by inheritance. So if the politics demands that he should hear the objection of the Acholis in the manner by which, because these guys who are going there, if you look in the 1960s, how many of them had parents who owned livestock like they have now? Or who owned vehicle like my dad had a vehicle and he had a shop, but I've never moved and taken over land anywhere because of money.
Okay. Honorable Minister, let me come to you. You are in the driving seat of this program as it's happening there. 15th didn't happen, 25th is on the doorsteps, Executive Order 2 is out. As the person in charge of this docket, where is the impasse between the region and the people that are coming? Professor has talked about assimilation, Andrew is talking about the politics behind it. What is your take? Why is there an impasse in resolving this matter? And I think my other rejoinder to the question is, why did the verification process fail?
Thank you, Nyangweso. I love to call it that way.
Thank you.
Because like many others have said, your dad was a very incredible citizen. I want to thank viewers, surely, sacrificing this a time like this and to watch and listen to us is I can't take for granted. Let me begin from the point where Andrew introduced the discussion from. First of all, surely, I want to very strongly reject the position and the narrative of Andrew Menda about this matter. First of all, let me tell you, people in northern Uganda are the most warm and welcoming, maybe if in this entire country. Secondly, it is not a matter of Acholis or any tribe in north. In fact, it's not about Acholis at all. I think, and I am compelled to say you could, because you said General Sali gave you this information. In fact, I am compelled to think you are misrepresenting General Salim Saleh. I want to make this very clear. Timothy, this matter began when the president consulted, invited the leaders from northern Uganda who are around the Karamoja area. Because that time there was escalation in cattle raids in Karamoja. And of course, as you know, there's a lot of disruption in the way of life of the people who are around Karamoja. And this meeting took place in Baralege. In that meeting, I remember the leaders complained to the president that, Your Excellency, we have noticed there are people who have kind of invaded our area, but the way they're living with the people is not good. They carry guns, they are violent, they are disrespectful, and they are arrogant. The president himself took trouble to investigate and find who these were. Please, nobody from northern Uganda, not in Langu, not in Acholi, not in West Nile, even coined the word Balaalo. It was the president's word. Nobody called them such. They simply complain that there are some people and their cattle keepers who have invaded their area. And they are this that I've told you. And they carry guns. That was the beginning of the complaint of the people, the people's leaders in that area. The president took trouble to consult. He consulted, he invited some elders from Acholi. One of those is Muse Okwera, Peter Okwera, was I think in the CA or something like that.
It was in this the post
the post-takeover
Yes,
legislative
yeah.
arrangement.
Yeah.
That was the so Mzee Okwera, Peter was there, and others. So later on, the president invited people, including the Chief Justice, not as Chief Justice, but as an elder from Acholi and others. Say, let me listen to this. It was a long day in Entebbe. Timothy, there were gruesome testimonies from the communities from Acholi. Again, in that meeting, nobody there called anybody by name Balaalo or something. That was the president's own identification of that group. They only complain about people who have come to graze cattle and they're not living well with their communities. Some of them don't recognize boundaries with the neighbors. Others don't allow your cows to graze with them. If your cow crosses in their kraals, it is either castrated or even they confiscate, they take it away. And this was something not common in that community. And many other complaints which were there. And that time I remember there were even testimonies that say that if you complain, if you take these complaints to police, instead you'll be arrested by the police. It is not my words, these were testimonies were there, and they are recorded. You can go and trace in the State House. They were there. The whole day the president listened to the people there. And then later on the president also called another group who identified themselves as, others who identified themselves that landowners. That's the first time I heard about landowners. They have never existed. I began hearing about Association of Landowners, or is it cattle farmers in northern Uganda. I'm a farmer there myself. We have never had such, but it emerged after that. The president took trouble to say, let me go and see myself. The president flew and went to Okidi in Gulu. While he was there, I was there myself, Timothy. And this is why Professor says that the people say deep-seated issues, and they say it is in there, that the problems are in my lungs, are in my heart. That's how they express themselves. In that meeting, Timothy, those who were grieved were identified and kept away from coming for the meeting where the president was. A number of leaders from that area were also kept away from that meeting. I was there myself. And then the then RDC in that place was the one who was used. It would identify who would speak where the president was. Many MPs were blocked away. They were not allowed to reach where the president was. This was an open meeting. I remember very well, I think when those who were coming from the side of Lamore, even Honorable Hilary Onek was not allowed to enter in that meeting. I found Honorable Lanya crying along the way when we are now going back. All those who were grieved in the community that we are complaining, we are not allowed to enter that meeting and speak to the president. I remember in that meeting, one migrant cattle keeper even threatened the president. When the president asked him, so why did you come here? That where I am, it is now small. That is small. But why don't you, if it is small, why don't you do modern farming so that your animals fit in there? Then he told the president in their local dialect that, okay, Mr. President, now you're chasing us from here, we shall meet in the voting. Meaning, if he chases him, he will not vote him. He told the president in public.
But it's the same thing that has been told to the president by honorable honorable MPs that are there.
Yes, so I'm just telling you why the community complained. It was the president who invited the leaders. And the leaders told him, Mr. President, there's something we have seen. Yes, it's true the Karamjongs are raiding our animals. They are killing people. But there's again something we are seeing in our communities. So when the president did that, he did his own investigation. And having listened to both sides, the cattle keepers there, who sent their representatives, now this I'm including landowners. I'd never heard about them. By that time, they existed. But for sure, what I know, and they also know, they were mobilized by the cattle keepers as landowners. And actually, they are not necessarily landowners. They're actually agents, land.
Brokers.
Brokers, actually. Yeah. I think I should say so. Now, that's when the president, after some time, after consulting widely with those two groups, even invited, again, I think, the Chief Justice and the Minister of Justice. After widely consulting with both sides, he now issues the Executive Order number 3 of 2023, which included all those conditions. In fact, the position in that Executive Order was that everybody will leave. It even narrated so, it's so detailed. Then when he issued that Executive Order, there were consultations. A number of people from the north there, including now the so-called landowners, cattle farmers in northern Uganda and so on. Now the president listened to them, said, okay, if that's the case, let's now give these guidelines. But those guidelines were not in the original, the real Executive Order number 3. So those were that: one, if you have land, you must have fenced with the 3 strands of wire, that you must have water in your farm. Why? Because you should be keeping your livestock within a confined, controlled area, so that they don't go to your neighbors. So that's what happened. But when they began, because the order was to those who don't comply to that, later on the guidelines given, after consultation and complaint from other cattle keepers who were in the north, the president made those adjustments to keep watching and give those guidelines. Now, in late 2023, we had the outbreak of the foot and mouth disease. And this process was halted to avoid spreading animal disease, because quarantine was declared. Quarantine was declared in a number of districts around northern Uganda. So to avoid spreading cattle disease, and particularly that was foot and mouth disease, it was halted to allow government procure enough vaccines to vaccinate livestock against foot and mouth disease before this operation could continue. Now, that was now around February 2024 when that was done. Now, all that time, government put in effort to vaccinate livestock and then continue monitoring. Unfortunately, Timothy, surprisingly, more livestock against the order moved into northern Uganda. This time, actually even beyond actually you're talking about. So we are talking about northern Uganda. Northern Uganda is not only in Acholi. Northern Uganda includes Lango, Acholi, and West Nile. So more animals actually now, more livestock moved into these areas against the guidelines and including even the executive order of the president. Now, later on when the government vaccinated livestock all over the country with massive vaccination, investment in animal vaccines, it was now found that there were no longer foot and mouth disease in northern Uganda, and quarantine were already lifted in a number of these areas. That's now when we had a meeting. But all this time we have been collecting data. Security was collecting data and seeing what was happening. All these vices, all this discomfort that were created in that area actually had escalated. You know, when you sit in Kampala and read reports written to you by others, sometimes you actually end up very, very wrong. And I'm very, very surprised. I'm very surprised. I think these days, Andrew is very busy with so many things. I must, and I want to really, I want to plead with you. I think tone down on a number of things so that you are able to concentrate on factual issues like you do. I think you have been so busy. I must appreciate, Andrew, you have been so busy, and I forgive you. Why? Okay. Let me finish. Why? Because actually the narrative Andrew is giving is actually now the narrative that others are wanting, who want this thing to put this whole thing to look like. Let me say this, Andrew, as you cut me. One, this is not a tribal matter. It is an issue about a people who have just recovered from war. Timothy, these are fellows who have been in camps for over 20 years. When they are going back home, elders died in the camps, senior people died off, others migrated. When they are going back home, they couldn't even tell where is our land, where are our boundaries. Others don't even know they can't even appreciate that land is better used as a factor of production than as a commodity itself for trade. So it is not, let me finish this point. It is not about the tribal, it is about this behavior of people in northern Uganda. Person who called them Balaalo was the president in his description. Why is it that, by the way, Timothy, you forget, Balaalo, who we are calling Balaalo, we are not only being evicted from northern Uganda, they were once evicted from Bulisa. Why didn't you bring this narrative that it was tribal that time? So this is not a tribal matter. It is about, government has a responsibility of protecting the weak. If some people who are just recovering from war are complaining about something, it is a responsibility of government to protect them as well.
Thank you. Allow me to bring in Kennedy. Kennedy, hearing from the Honorable Minister, the social strata is the problem. Andrew is saying, this is politics at hand here. You are a publicity person, you're in charge of also landowners there. When you look at this whole issue, what are the undertones? What are we missing with this whole thing?
Thank you so much, Timothy, and I appreciate the presentation of Minister, Professor, and the old man of the plan, and allow me to first start by respectfully disagree with the Minister that we are, and as well Professor, that we are association of brokers and land sellers. And we were mobilized by the Balaalo to come and defend them in this matter.
We didn't hear that from me, so when you say minister and professor, you are not being correct. We didn't hear that from you.
Okay. From the,
I only heard about you when that's the first time I heard about you. No prophetic, maybe.
It's the Honorable Minister. Yes.
Okay, leaving that aside, if at all there are some individuals called the Balaalo whom we claim they are in northern Uganda and in Acholi land also inclusive, and you are denying that they are not sitting on someone's land, then does it adds up? Because there must be the owner of some land whom a person is staying. So that forms the basis that the land are there. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So leaving that aside, allow me to first take a brief history of the Balaalo and the genesis of how all these things started. We as the landowners, we have been in tricky positions.
Okay.
We have been blamed by both the politicians, by both the government, and as well as sometimes the so-called Balaalo themselves. But the truth of the matter is, for us, the landowner, we accepted that mistakes were made. These mistakes that were made by government, were made by we, the landowners, were made by the Balaalo. The so-called Balaalo, for us, we know them as the migrant cattle keepers. What mistakes were made by the government?
Mm-hmm.
Timothy, for me, I am a little bit bitter when I look at the statistics from UBOS about the poverty in northern Uganda and zeroing like actually sub-region where I come from. When people return from the IDP, there was no comprehensive plan of resettling someone who has stayed out of his home for like 20 years or so. So people just went, you have no source of livelihood, you have to start from the scratch, just like Professor Mason, I hope you will not disagree this time. People who went back are children who probably their parents have died and remain in camps. And probably you even don't know the boundaries of the land. That started the initial problems of land conflict. However, that said one thing which was wrong. The leaders came in. If you have been following the politics of northern Uganda, there was a period where everyone who wants to come to parliament will say, I am going to protect your land. Land is the only wealth you have remained. But they fail to explain to the local populations how that land can be turned into wealth. Now with the pressure of poverty,
with also the challenges that these so-called children who never even, sorry, is it okay? Yeah. So with the children who never knew the proper boundary of the land conflict started. Now this land conflict which started, some people found themselves in endless court cases. The only option now is to look for someone who is powerful to buy your land to protect you from the endless court cases. I hope we all agree with this. And that set a very wrong precedent. Now coming to the leaders, if you trace the first Balaalo to reach Acholi land was not brought by a local man like me, neither even any other owners of the land. It were people who were well placed, people who could sit in the Kampala corridors of power, in the corridors of parliament, in Serena conference hall, maybe at the waiting lounge in Entebbe when they're flying outside, who were telling the people that we have land in our home there. So calling us the brokers of the land, I think, land brokers, I think it is just very secondary. The true land brokers were the elites of the Acholi land. Because there is nowhere where someone from Okidi probably will connect with General Mbade, who has a chunk of land in Noya. So when you trace that, it tells you that we, the landowners, we were just doing what we did for the sake of saving even the land we were having, because the elites were finishing this land from us.
Which elites?
Those were the actual elites who connived with their counterparts to come and buy lands. Because even as I speak now, we find it problematic that some of the land which we have bought from some family, you will find the first buyer is a person or a son of the soil, like you like mentioning. But before you know, later, it is transferred to someone else. So that tells you the magnitude of the challenges the local person was facing. Now, the issues of the Balaalo which has come of late, we have been blamed that we are protecting the Balaalo, we are objecting the presidential directive of the eviction order, the executive order. That is not the case, Timothy. For us as the landowners, under our association, we are saying, let verification be done. Because verification will address the key issues the president raised in the executive order. One of the issues was the indisciplines of the so-called Balaalo. If you do the verification, you will get to the nitty-gritty of what kind of these indisciplines are. Because we have cases, we hear also, of animal trampling crops, maybe a Balaalo fighting the locals, maybe disrespecting the culture, and so forth. But that is just an allegation. For you to get to the gist of the matter or to the bottom of the matter, you need to go and do verification and find out the truth. So now, our dismay in this position is, we are hearing the Balaalo under the second executive order must go and then verification take place. This one doesn't make logic. Because whom then will you interview during the verification? For example, for me as a landowner, with the little knowledge of these issues that have been coming, one of the agriculturalists told us that, I don't know whether Professor will agree with that one animal should have a grazing space of 2.47 acres. Just around there. So now, if I have like 1,000 acres, and my animal has been moved, evicted, and you have gone to do verification there to find how many animals I was having on that space, how will you know? Will you count the footmarks that we estimate this would be roughly 200 or 400? So in that case, it means, therefore, I appeal to the president that the best verification that will yield the results which will address the answer which is looking for is when the so-called Balaalo are there.
Okay. Let me read some feedback so that we can take a break. A lot of feedback coming through. I agree with the right for every Ugandan to reside anywhere in the country, but one thing is that the Balaalo do not understand is that the northerners thrive on agriculture almost 90%, and it's a bogged down threat for them to have their cows grazing in agricultural land. This is rendered as unprotected land, okay? Thank you for your message there. Another lengthy one comes in from Okema Tony from sub-county in Amur district. We have been hiring huge lands of infertile bush land to Balaalo for many years. They have given us money plus kept our cows together with theirs. Our questions are, where shall we be getting the money we are getting now, since it was helping our families? As a family, we sat down and sold a small piece of land because we wanted money for funeral prayers, which never happened, in case the Mulalo asked for compassion, eviction processes. Where shall we get this money? We learned that a lot of the Balaalo that were cattle keepers improved the mechanization, helped us to learn how to cattle keep. Our livelihood improved, yet radio stations were teaching us to go against them. Where shall we get such advice moving forward? Okay. Another one comes in, is Acholi for government or for the people? Okay, that's a good question. My name is Frederick from Pader. The Honorable Minister, the land I bought from Pader was sold to me by an Acholi from Agago, and he resold it to me. What I want to ask is it becoming communal land after I bought it? Okay. Timothy, thank you for the show. Who are the Balaalo? Where is their origin? How did they own the disputed land? Where was government when this occupation happened? This is James from Fort Portal.
I want to answer James, by the way.
I'm going to come to you, Andrew. We have coexisted with intermarriages with the Balaalo for decades, notwithstanding coexistence that has promoted meaningful business partnerships, which is something to explore with government-led initiatives. The negative culture is ushered in by a mass cattle theft. The locals in a very advanced way. The entire herd of cattle in the entire kraal has been stolen once, and then the nomadic grazing is a big source of conflict with farmers. Globalization is real and must be explored with beneficial mutual respect. David Ebong from Apache. Okay, a lot of messages coming through, but let's take a quick...
Allow me conclude.
Let's take a break and then I come back to you, Kennedy, so that you can conclude. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be digesting solutions to this issue.
Here's your chance to win school fees for your child for a whole year. Just pay school fees using Momo. Dial *165 *80 hash. Select option 2 for school pay. Select option 1 to pay school fees. Enter the student number and amount and approve the transaction. You will now enter the draw to win school fees for your child for a whole year.
Uniquely ours. Explore Uganda.
You got us on your wallet. Colleagues, elections for special interest groups are calling. SIGs, elections, youth, PWDs, elderly. It's time to vote for our leaders, June through August. From village to parish to district to nationals, youth, PWDs, elderly. It's time, go vote your leaders. No! Elections are supposed to be peaceful. Easy vote, okay?
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Welcome back from that quick commercial break here on Behind the Headlines. My name is Timothy Nyangoso. In the studio, I'm joined by Kennedy Okello, the old man of the clan, Mr. Andrew Mwenda. I'm joined by Professor Maurice Ogenga Latigo. I'm joined by also the Honorable Minister, Dr. Kenneth Omona. We're discussing the Balaalo dilemma, especially looking at what the issue is. Is it politics, is it the economics, or the cultural strife that is there? Let me read two messages so that I can give Kennedy an opportunity to conclude, and then I pick it up with Andrew, who has something to add to this. A lot of messages. I'm tuning in from Acholi quarters here in Chireka in Kasokoso. I would like to know who permitted these Acholi people who are staying on the land of the Baganda. Should we also chase them from here? I had I'd got this land from the Acholi quarters in Chireka in 1970. This is Benon Tumsime in Chireka. Okay, interesting. Honorable Minister and Professor, you own residential houses in the central part, and you live here and you have commercial farms. Can there also be evictions to this in their defense? Okay. Good evening, Timothy. What's wrong with the Balaalo selling their cattle and investing the money elsewhere, like the transportation business, banking, real estate? Is livestock cattle the only investment they can do? This is Awanyi George from Lamo district there. Please keep the messages coming. 0709 60 25 92. Kennedy, most of the land, 76% of the land, both in Acholi, Lango, and West Nile, is cultural and communal land. When you say you were a landowner and you're in these transactions, how have you been transacting?
Timothy, that is so good. You see, the issues of the all Acholi land being communal and customary, it needs to be dissected very well. I agree that the land in Acholi, some parts are communal, like the hunting ground, the grazing ground, like swamp. In Acholi, nobody owns swamp, traditionally. If the swamp passes near your village, the boys, the youths around that village, they can go and farm, plant sugarcane communally. And then the grazing land was also communal, then the hunting ground was also communal. However, the other customary land belong to individuals, clan and family. You will find if you are the descendant of, like my father is Jamesu, the family of Jamesu, they have their parcel of land, which they dig. Another person, maybe you are an Acholi from Kochi, you will not come and claim rights in our land because you are an Acholi and on the ground that it is customary. That doesn't work like that. If you are a Payera and you cannot go to Lamoge and say this is a customary land and I'm going to farm there, we inherit along a certain descent, a certain offspring lineage. So now, some individuals are owning that kind of land where your grandfather left for you. This kind of land, you can agree as a family and you write a family resolutions and you sell, which is acceptable in law.
Sell or lease?
Actually, even selling and leasing both, it is possible. Unless someone is going to say family resolution is not one way of allowing family land to be sold. And then also, before we went for commercial break, some of this land where the Balaalos are occupying, there are Balaalos who have bought land which were already having titles. There were families that have acquired titles in the 60s. So these families have also sold land to the Balaalo. It's like they have sold the title and the Balaalos are occupying. So now, as landowners, we are saying, verification will help to know which Balaalo has defied the presidential directive, which Balaalo has complied, and then even if a Molalo is says, will go knowing that I have really not met my standard. So the verification report will be like a report card where any exiting Balaalo would know that I am leaving Acholi land because of this. This will help to address the issues that Andrew Menda and the minister are struggling with, the tribal tongue.
And that's where I want to come to you, Kennedy.
Exactly.
How come you settled well? Because it seems like there is social strife. There are things that the Balaalo do. Some of the complaints I had were they would bathe in the open. So some norms were cultural strifes. How were you able to live amicably with them on your land that you had leased to them?
That is very, you see, when you have a tenant in your rental apartments, by the time someone is coming, you make a rental agreement and you list the condition. In my home, when you are living, you must pay in my house. In my home here, I don't want littering of the compound. In my home here, I don't want quarreling. In my home, I don't want fighting. So like for us, part of the land that we are leasing, we are doing community conservancy in that part of parcel of land. So what we have agreed with our tenant is there is no cutting of trees. That is one condition. Two, we don't want one tenant to bring another person whom we are not in agreement to graze in that land. Because one of the issues which is causing this problem, the indiscipline one, which the president talked elaborately about in the presidential directive order, is that one person acquire land, then again sub-rent to another person. So the one who comes doesn't even have any connection with the real owner of the land. So those are the ones who are doing even things which are really not good.
Okay.
And for us as the landowners and livestock farmers, we have agreed that such individuals should be the first priority to be evicted.
How many people do you have in your association?
Actually, our association, as of to date, by yesterday, we were having a member from East Acholi, West Acholi, now coming to 600 registered members. Because an association, you must be registered, you must pay the subscription fee to subscribe to a certain, but however, it is still open to all the landowners.
How many from East Acholi?
Sorry?
How many from East Acholi? How many from Agago?
From East Acholi, from Agago, the summation is 600 plus, but breakdown...
Can you give me one name from Agago in
That's
your
one.
association?
Actually, we have members like...
No, can you give me one name? And
that
where
is the
it
name
comes
I'm giving.
Yeah,
Okay.
give me
Yes,
one name and
Mr.
where it
Obola
comes from.
Jaros. We have Mr. Kumu.
Ukumu who?
Mr. Kumu Charles from Angangura in Padere. We
I
have...
said from Agago.
Yes, there are so many.
Okay.
There are so
Let me
many.
come.
So,
Okay.
let me
Please
conclude.
conclude.
Let me conclude. Now, for us, we want government to do this thing systematically. One, there are people who are grazing on government land. Those would be even the first priority. And then there are those who have not heeded to the presidential directive. They have not fenced, they have not put a permanent source of water. They are just masquerading around. Those would be evicted also. And then there are those whom I have mentioned. They go and they hire from someone who is hiring. It's not known to the tenant. I'm a tenant, and then I bring someone else. I bring Andrew Menda to rent from me. This would be the next target. Now, those who have got the certificate of compliance, like Andrew Menda tried to hit on it a bit, they have got the certificate of no objections, they have got the inter-district movement permit, they have got the vaccination, they have got some proof of evidence of acquisition of land, either by rental or by purchase. Those we are praying that let them first be verified and their claim, because we assume all these are claims. Someone say, I have bought land. You will have to substantiate. How did you acquire those land?
Thank you.
So we are not denying the presidential directive. However, we are saying that if we do the way we are doing it, we are going to cause the tribal undertone, which Andrew Menda
But
is
why,
trying
I want to
to
ask, what just before you...
Yes.
we want to
Kennedy,
Just
let
like
me pick the minister and come back.
Just help me.
Andrew. Yes.
Why are you Tell me why it will be tribal. Is what I want to.
Exactly.
No.
Minister,
why
you
is it
see-
going? You have listed.
Okay.
You have listed.
Okay, Kennedy,
Yes,
keep the
yes.
question. You respond to the minister.
Yeah, yes.
Let me come to Andrew. Andrew,
I first want to answer issues. that
before
were
you
raised.
answer his issues, because you mentioned Bunyoro, and there was an LC5 that won the elections in Chibale, and the president asked him to step down. This formation of this country, is it on firm ground or sinking sand?
I
And
think that
how do we solve the politics, the economics, and the culture here?
I am, as I grow older, now I'm 112, this year I turn 113, I'm getting convinced that democracy has really prostituted a man called Yoweri Museveni and reduced him to the worst levels of opportunism. Because this, what he's doing, is a very bad thing. He tried it in Bunyoro. I disagree with him on that. I have told you that I think more than 50% of the population of Toro, I'm going to check in the census after here, must be Bachiga. Migrants from Kabale. Initially there were these wrangles, but at that time Museveni was not elected, it's the late 80s. So he did not intervene in opportunistically. Now Bachiga and Batoro live comfortably together.
There is also Tororo, the Jap and the
Yes.
Itesot.
But as democracy has come, first of all, please note that there is no association of people who sold land who are complaining. Please, I go to Acholi every week. Andrew Mwenda is in Gulu. Please tell me a demonstration of a large community of Acholis who have said, my land was taken away.
Can I give an example?
First, wait. You will give
Honorable,
an
let's
example
come
when I
to you.
finished, Kenneth.
No, okay.
The bottom line is this. This is a tribal campaign started by elites trying to whip up ethnic sentiments in order to gain cheap popularity. Otherwise, the people who have leased land, and that's why I like my great-grandson here, Kennedy, a very good man, because he has spoken very well. He has leased his land. There is a willing buyer and a willing seller, or a leasing leaser and a leasing leasee. You get it? Why do the politicians insert themselves in it? Now let me show you how it is tribal. I'll begin. I was taking notes on my phone, and I come to my other grandson, my Lakwara Latigo. He said that these Balaalo are not assimilating in the community. So he's saying that Balaalo who go there must first become Acholis, assimilate Achol culture, for them to have a right. You will answer me. It is you who said they are not assimilating in the community.
You did not. I
I
gave
first finish?
examples of Buganda.
Yes, but I don't think that if I go to Acholi, I should. The reason why I should settle there, or the condition, is that I should shed my Toro identity. I don't want to go when he comes to Kanyandahi and he buys a farm there, that it should be a requirement that he speaks with Toro. That should be his choice. But he should not shed his Acholi identity. We are Acholis and Langis. We left these people there in Lang and Acholi. We went to Toro and we
You are the one who is our grandchild, actually.
Hold a second, I finish. We went there. We adopted the culture there. That was our choice. But we can't impose it on others. We did it willingly. My ancestors did so. I have told you. Look at my cousin Noba Mayombe. He has a brother called Okwiri, another one called Olimi, another one called...
Your king is Oyo.
Oyo is my cousin, I should tell you.
Yes.
Oyo and I are cousins. You get it? So we left there. We have a right to go back. This Balaalo you see, by the way, I'm telling you the historical Acholis and Langis. You know the former acting executive director of KCC, and now he's the director of legal affairs, Frank Rusa. His grandfather was called Mokidi. Now, among us, Batoro and Banyoro, we don't have the word Langi Acholi. We call them Abakidi. Abakidi. Yeah. So when you hear Abakidi called Rukidi, it means the son of Bakidi. Yeah. When you see Frank Rusa's grandfather called Mokidi, it means Acholi. When they say Mokidi, Ogo Mwana, Mokidi, meaning that boy is an Acholi stroke Langi, because you don't have those words. You see, so first and foremost, to defeat these people's tribal sentiments, and my grandchildren of Acholi, I tell you, for us, we're also from there. We may have adopted a different culture wherever we went. we will return there with our cows, because the cows come from there. So Muzungu came here and distorted so many things, and these elites, these ones, the current ones, now Museveni is joining them, are creating these distortions. I've told you, my wife's brothers, if you took them to a chol, these people, unless I hear them speak, you cannot distinguish them. You can go to one and these were Tutsis, tall, dark-skinned, with a gap in their teeth, with black gum, typical Acholi. So African people are one. We are being divided by Muzungu and these elites who are adopting these Muzungu things. Museveni, I'm so saddened, has joined this. But let me explain to you the process, actually, of acquiring land. Because people here are telling lies. This is the process you go through and why these things are legitimate. One, the first meeting that takes place when you go there to buy land, you meet the family or community members who own land. This meeting is attended by the families or clan members who confirm that truly they have land and is on sale. In most cases, the family will have made a written and signed family resolution to sell the land to any willing buyer. That meeting is also attended by the neighbors, so there is no encroachment. The Ruot Query Cultural Institution land representative and the local council leaders all attend. During this meeting, the buyer and the seller know each other. The land is stored to make the buyer appreciate it. That's step one. You see how elaborate it is. Let me come to step two. The surveying of the land. To establish a size in acres. The buyer brings the surveyor. Please, let me finish.
Let him finish, Professor. I'm coming to you.
Boris, I never interrupted you.
That process is not the issue. The issue is that the land was acquired.
Guys.
Okay, Professor, let me come to you.
You will come, you will have a chance.
Please, let him finish.
He asked me something to clarify.
So, the buyer brings a surveyor that both parties have agreed upon. During this meeting, the price per acre and the date and mode of payment is agreed upon, and the money is, that is second meeting. The third meeting, money is paid. Whether in a cash or bank, it's witnessed by everybody present, including the LCs who stamp it. You get it? So it's not, that is why we do not have, I want them to bring evidence of people who say, my land was stolen.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Kenneth, if there is somebody who says my land was grabbed, the grabber should be arrested, because even here in Buganda, all of us have land. Should we all be evicted in Buganda because Timothy Nyangweso grabbed the land? So if there is a person who has violated these procedures I'm putting in place, that person should be apprehended and dealt with as a criminal. But you cannot say that all Balaalo should be punished because a few Balaalo either carried a gun, which itself is not true, or for that matter, because the government of Uganda, the security services did a verification. You could find, you see, this is the problem. One person carries a gun, they say, oh, Balaalo carried a gun. It's not true. There was a verification done by security services of Uganda, unless we don't believe in them, and they found that actually Balaalo don't carry guns. There may be 1 or 2, 3 or 20 Balaalo. How many Balaalo are there? Until 15,000? But I should also tell you about these people and their quarrels. Of the total land area, and General Saleh has been calling me, but I'm on TV, I can't answer him. I had called him to talk to him about this matter. General Saleh did a study there. He found these Balaalo occupy 98.5% of land in Acholi is owned, grazed, cultivated, controlled by Acholis. So the issue in dispute is actually 1.5%. Of that 1.5%, they are Balaalo, but they are also Indians. They're also Muzungu. Like in Nuoya there, they have this plantation agriculture. Let me come to another issue. My great-grandson here is called Kenneth Omona. Kenneth Omona comes from Kaberamaido. He went to Nuoya and bought 500 acres of land. Why isn't he being evicted? This Chief Justice, what is his name? Or Winyidolo. Winyidolo is also my grandson, because I'm telling you, I'm the Ruot, the original Ruot of the Acholi.
How big is Gaza, which is causing a problem?
He went to Nuoya.
How big is Gaza?
Or Winyidolo and bought land. Isn't he also a Mufuruki there? He should be evicted. Acholis every day, as I speak even tonight, they are buying land from fellow Acholis. But they're saying Balaalo should not buy. I mean, this is absurd. And let me tell you guys, you are joking with something, because you see, to build this country, we must create a Ugandan identity. And that Ugandan identity defend that everybody has the right to go and settle anywhere in Uganda.
What is that point that brings us together, that Ugandan identity you're talking about?
It is our common struggle as Ugandans, even as Africans. Here we live in Buganda. I'm telling you that Chinese, they're Indians, they are Eritreans, they're South Sudanese, they are Somalis, Ethiopians. They come here they buy land. We have Tanzanians, they own land here. But this thing to say that Ugandans, I am going to buy land in Acholi, me, and then I will refuse to do something. Let me answer his question. Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
He says Acholi's, we are claiming that Acholis are not tribalistic. No. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying some few Acholi elites are trying to keep up political sentiment. They themselves are not tribalists. They are strategic tribalists because they are exploiting tribal sentiment for political gain, and that we have to resist it. Then they say how people have gone there is very insensitive. Okay, how is that insensitive? Because a Balaalo, based from, I mean, Balaalo has to be a Balaalo. You get it. You must have culture here. You live in Kampala, here you Latigo. I'm sure there are things you may do that may offend Baganda. Should Baganda evict you? Now, Omona said people complained that Balaalo carried guns. How many Balaalo carried guns? Because let's do a statistic. I'm telling you they were less than 0.1%. Punish those who carry guns if they are carrying illegal guns. Omona was saying people just came out of camps and lost their relatives. They are vulnerable and weak. Really, this is despising the great people of Acholi. That they lack agency, they cannot make judgments for themselves. In any case, by the way, from a commercial perspective, this is very dangerous to Acholi, because if we allow an influx of people there to compete for land, it will beat the prices of land up. My own suspicion is that these Acholi elites want to depress the price of land in Acholi by blocking other competing buyers. Then you suppress the market artificially, then the prices remain low, because then it is them as tribal lords who will buy land from Acholi. My great-grandchildren of Acholi, please resist these politicians who are telling you that you cannot sell it to others because they are reducing. Remember that demand affects price. If there are so many people trying to buy your land, it will build up the price. Let me give you an example of where I come from. We have a lot of land on Crater Lakes. White people came, started buying places, land on. My uncle used to have a piece of land on Crater Lake, but all believed that there are ghosts around Crater Lakes. He gave it away. So white people started coming and putting resorts. Now an acre of land facing a Crater Lake is more than 200, 300 million shillings. Because Muzungu were coming and buying, then these Ugandan travel agents, the Wakesas and others, also came to buy land in Toro. Now prices have gone up. So in Acholi, for us to increase the value of land Acholi are holding, we need to increase the number of Balaalo, the number of Batoro, the number of Basamia to go there and buy. But of course, the Acholi elites want to monopolize that by depressing the prices. And please, Acholi, resist these politicians. Let me
come, Kenneth.
Now, somebody also, again, Omona said Acholi depend 90% on land, and therefore their land is going away.
Not me.
No, I quoted you said that Acholi's lives depend on agriculture and land, and this land is being taken.
As a means of production.
Yes, he's the one who said it, because I never wrote a note.
What I said, let me get it clear. Get clear. I said, you see, having come from that situation, many of them are not appreciated that land used as a means of production is much better than when it is used as a commodity. That's actually what I said. Yes, so using land as
but how do we determine the value of something?
No, this is actually what I'm saying.
The value of something is determined by income generated from it. If you generate less income from something, you see, land in Kampala is very, hold a second.
This is a vulnerability of the people.
Honorable Minister, let me come to you.
Let's go to Kololo there. Why is land in Kololo, an acre of land, why does it go for $3 million when a square mile of land in Acholi may go for $500,000 or less? Why? Okay. These are 640 acres. Thank you. Because the income generated from Kololo is very high. So anyway, this is the point I want to make. That one, if there is a willing buyer and a willing seller, why are you, Kenneth Omona, you Latigo, saying that me, Patrick Ochaya from Acholi, I should not sell my land to the person who wants to buy it? Why do you want me to sell it to a fellow Acholi? And Museveni says this, that his father educated him because he sold his cows to butchers who were Baganda. If we had to depend on Bahima, they would have paid him a low price because every of him had cows. So why should Latigo want to monopolize the purchase of land in Acholi? Why doesn't he want Timothy Nyangwes also to go there and buy? Why should Patrick Ochaya be forced to sell only to Latigo? Why?
Okay. Allow me, Honorable Minister.
And Kenneth Omona.
no,
They are the only ones who want to buy.
no,
Because Omona went
Okay.
from Kaberamaido, he went and bought land in
that
Voi.
is-
Am I lying?
No, you see, no, I think, again, I'm saying this, really, Andrew, I want you to spend more time. You're a very busy man. I'm going to repeat the same thing, that I think these days, you are so busy that you now get things at the real periphery. You are missing the facts, and I really felt so bad. Really, Andrew, please find time and say this properly. So let me begin from this. First of all, Andrew, stop guilt trapping the northerners, smearing them with guilt. That now, since you are complaining, you are crying that people are hurting you, you can't live in Uganda here. There is nowhere in Uganda here where there's a group of people described as northerners who are hurting people. If it happens, we will act as government like we are acting, whether it is Ankole, in Rwenzori, in Iteso, in Karamoja, we will do the same thing. Government's work is to protect its citizens. When one community complains that there's something not right here, you can't begin to say that, why you complain against others, you shall also complain against you. So please stop guilt trapping northerners. And by the way, please let me emphasize, North is beyond Acholis. Not only Acholis.
I'm complaining about a few Acholis, not
let me
northerners.
answer this. Secondly, Timothy, the question which also Kennedy, the narrative, the very weak and negative narrative that Kennedy wants to drive, that all the Acholi elites want to monopolize owning land in Acholi so that others don't go there and keep them poor.
Minister,
Really?
if I may.
No, let him
Kennedy, let him finish.
Sorry.
I'm going to come to you.
No, you asked me a
What
question.
would-
I'm going to come to you. Kennedy,
What would-
interject?
Kennedy,
What
please
would
note the
leaders-
question. Let me come to you.
What will leaders like me put in charge of that area do when the Wananchi, the common people, are complaining? We talk about land. Yes, it is true. In fact, everything he said, first of all, he denied that there's nothing, but everything Kennedy said that's happening, that is happening. You find, like Andrew also said, there are areas where people come and say, no, me, I rented 10 acres, but the agreement the person wrote as 10 hectares. This is not true. There are also those testimonies. Others, you find somebody has maybe 100 acres or something like that, but the number of livestock in that place is so big that they can only logically be fed elsewhere, including water for these livestock. So before I can come to the detail,
And let me, I wanted you to respond. Let me get to Professor, then come back to you, Honorable Minister. Professor, how do we resolve this? Because there's a country at stake. There's a country we found. There's a country we'll leave and leave for our children. How do we resolve this posterity?
It is very simple. The process that is taking place is wrong.
Is wrong.
It is wrong. You know, actually, it's not North America discovered by Christopher Columbus. That you go and chase the red Indians and settle there. And I'm so deeply offended by this guy talking about association of Acholi land owners.
Let me
No,
correct
Kennedy,
you. It
let
is
him
not-
finish.
I did
actually
not-
land owners. It is Jowa lives. Let me
Please,
answer you.
Kennedy,
There is no-
Kennedy,
there is
Kennedy,
Jowa
please
Land
let me
Owners
talk.
and
Kennedy,
Livestock Farmers
please,
Association. I did
please,
not mention
Kennedy,
Acholi.
please.
Kennedy.
No, he also denied something. I need
Hold
to
on,
put
you're
it
going to
right.
get your
Yeah, I
opportunity.
need to
Just
put
take note
right
of it.
at-
Let's
at
take note of
that.
it and
Yeah, I
come.
need to put it right at that
Because
point.
Professor, please proceed.
Because these are the fraudsters.
I didn't mention Acholi.
Kennedy.
These are the fraudsters
Actually,
that
you should
will
withdraw
cause.
it. You
Just
should
hold on.
withdraw
You're
it.
going to have an
Acholi
opportunity.
Land Owners
You're going to have an
Association.
opportunity. Yes.
Listen, these are the fraudsters that cause unnecessary problem. When there's an issue, there are systematic ways of resolving them. I can tell you, I bought land. I farmed in Noya.
Yes.
I bought land.
Did you buy customary land or communal land?
Please,
Kennedy,
please,
let him
Yeah,
finish.
it will guide
Yes.
us.
Please.
I'll give you the opportunity to respond.
please.
Mm.
I bought
Professor,
land
please.
during the war. I started farming when the war was still there. And people were stuck in camps. You know what I used to do? I would carry When I'm going, I would buy meat in Kiriandongo. I would buy beans and take people there to cultivate. I would buy sweets for the children. I would pay them 5,000 shillings. And what I did was, if you gave people brand new notes, they don't drink it. So I would go to, my wife was working in the Bank of Uganda, so when I'm going there, I get brand new money. They don't drink it. And they used to call 5,000 shillings in Porongo Gang. If I go there now, they will embrace me because I was part of the community. What I was doing was part of the community. This cattle keeping, the way it is being done, in isolation of the immediate community, is not part of the community. And in Acholi, those days, whether you had cattle or not, in the dry seasons, the Koromojongs would raid cattle. And we have a shout, Telemete. Once you hear Telemete, you don't ask what is happening, you just pick your spears and run where that issue is. And when it is the Koromojongs, they've taken cattle, you'll follow them and recover the cattle. If it was some small community that invaded, you'd fight and chase them away. That land that you see in Acholi, which is very big, Acholi blood was poured in it to be what it is. And in the Constitution, I hear them quoting about law. The Constitution talks about Acholi. Because Acholi land is not just land, it is also our identity. When you trample on it because you have money, and you insult some of us, we will not keep quiet. It is wrong.
How do we resolve it, Professor?
Those who are selling land to the Balaalo, they are just merely being selfish. Wait.
Okay.
And they don't see the larger picture. Let me ask you, because of the context of the Balaalo, why were they not buying land in the 60s in Acholi? Why? In the 70s, why? Why were they not there? In the 80s, why were they not there? In the 90s, why were they not there? That they buy land now.
Population wasn't growing?
Is it about population? So ours didn't grow. You see, this thing is more fundamental than about
ours. When you say ours, what do you mean? Who's
we
us?
actually. So
it's a tribal issue.
No, I'm an Acholi. You cannot take that away from me.
So,
okay.
So why shouldn't I?
So you are saying that the Acholis who are selling, you, Latigo, should have authority to stop them from selling.
No. Hey. Didn't I say I bought land?
Okay. So why don't you want Balaalo to buy?
Oh. Why do let me tell you today.
We want to
the entry of the Balaalo in Acholi, the way they are entering, is insulting to many of us. Because you enter there because somebody can no longer cultivate his land. He's talking about neighboring Andrew Adimola. In the 60s, Adimola had a groundnut combine harvester on his farm. That neighbors him. Where's the farm?
So the way they
wait, let me talk. Let me talk. No, let me talk. If you went to Noya, next to the home of Alija Latim, Wilson Lutara had the best red pole herd in East Africa on his farm. In my own place, we had a dairy farmer with Frisian animals. All those went with the war. When we see cattle, it reminds us of the animals that we lost, of the prosperity that we lost, of the pain that we went through. That matter has not been resolved.
So the solution is to block people from buying the land, or ask the government to stop you?
Please, let us first have, I told you the process when the president went, when the daughter had a mission Pentecostal mission in
Maurice,
Gulu.
you have really disappointed me.
Oh
this
yes,
evening.
oh yes.
You have really disappointed me.
Don't worry.
For a great man like you.
No. Let me
have been
finish.
reduced to this petty tribal politics.
Let me finish. Let me tell you. The president went there and conveyed regrets. We embraced that process. If we completed the process, and that COP, which is in Ubo and Adunu, are out, we will live very normal lives. It is not yet time to live a normal life.
So what you're saying, Professor,
Timothy,
is that the fundamental of resolving the issues of the heart,
Yes.
what happened in the past,
Yes.
needs to be resolved
Yes.
for us to be able
Yes.
to look at the future.
Yes.
No. He's saying.
No,
that
I'm here.
instead of
Don't
asking the
don't
government-
interpret for me.
But this is
I'm here.
insinuation. He's saying that instead of asking the government to restock cows there, to support, they have had so many
No,
programs.
I did
he's
not-
saying that
I-
Balaalo should be, he's supporting eviction. Balaalo, who actually spent money, they sold, many Balaalo sold land in Western Uganda, sold all their belongings, went to Acholi, spent
Why?
their life savings,
Why?
and bought,
Why?
because there was large
Why?
land there to
Free
raise their
land,
cows.
eh?
Not free land.
Eh.
There was larger, cheaper land there. They bought the land. Now they should be dispossessed back to zero, impoverished, because he feels that there must be, can I tell, even if I was share your sentiment, you should ask the government of Uganda to restock Acholos who lost their cows.
No.
Yes, but you cannot say that
No.
it should be dispossessed. If
No.
you are,
Okay.
No.
Let me ask you
Please.
the final question, guys.
Now,
because you need to deal with
Andrew
the
has
facts.
taken. I thought I was
Now,
still on the.
8.5%
He
of
talked-
land
he
is
talked-
owned by Acholis
he
in
talked-
Acholi.
Okay.
He talked.
Why doesn't he
listen.
think that means 8%
Listen.
should be farmed? Why is
Okay,
it
Andrew,
focused on the
Listen,
1.5%?
Andrew.
Okay, yes.
Let me
Professor.
tell you.
I give up.
Let me tell you. Aswa and Acholi Ranch. Go and see who are there. And how many of them have been, people said, you evict them.
For us, we are saying they should be the first
So,
target.
Professor,
Please.
Professor, what I
Please.
hear you saying is that the issues of the lung and the heart,
Yes.
until they are solved,
Yes.
we cannot move forward.
Let me tell you, they can stay there. If, for example, today something happens to President Museveni, those people will be slaughtered, I'm telling you.
When you say to them,
No.
Okay, how?
So until we have a foundation of acceptance of one another, of honesty, and when we see you with money, we don't become your slave of money. Until we have that, a few selfish guys will defend them and claim they sold their land. And I can guarantee you, I know the prominent families in that area who own land.
Thank you, Professor.
he is
And
inciting.
My
Think-
grandfather,
Professor doesn't
my
know.
grandfather-
Okay.
What he's doing, him and Omona and Museveni may not realize that they're inciting also Baganda to begin evicting him
And that's what
him.
Andrew, that's what I asked you on state formation, and you didn't give me an answer.
But I've told you.
No,
He's
excuse me.
inciting Batoro
Hold
to
on,
demand
hold on,
eviction of
hold on,
Bachiga.
hold on.
Excuse me.
Yes,
He's
let-
inciting Bachiga to evict Banyarwanda.
No,
Hold
let-
on, yes.
He's inciting
Andrew,
Basania to evict
Andrew.
Bateso and Japadola.
Okay.
You are creating a very, very serious crisis.
You cannot intimidate me
Yes.
on that, Andrew.
Kennedy, hold on. Yes.
Look, this is a memorandum that we sent to President Museveni in May 2014. This is about oil.
The one you told us about in
Yes,
Noya.
this memorandum we sent to the president in 2014. 70% of Uganda's oil is in Acholi. Nobody wants to talk about oil in Acholi.
Okay.
No single benefit. And you want us to just laugh? My daughter.
This is tribal politics. I'm asking
Wait,
you.
let me.
So, are you allowed to buy land in Acholi?
No. Let me. Please, you are not.
Andrew, let
You
him
are not
finish.
a moderator. Let me say something. You are a recently recruited people. My daughter was working there. Even I had to confront a commissioner general. And you know, when the short list of people to be interviewed came, my daughter was not there. And yet, last year, For 6 months, she was employee of the month. That she failed the aptitude test. When COVID was there, she wrote 3 children's books. She did masters in petroleum management with Hussein Kasilingi. Up to now, she doesn't have a job.
How is this related to this debate?
Okay, thank you. Let me come to Honorable Kennedy. I'm going to come to you after the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Can I ask a question on your behalf? I want to ask Kenneth Omondi. Are you allowed to buy land in Acholi? For all issues you have raised?
I will answer together with what he's going to ask me.
Honorable Minister, you can feel the temperature and the sentiments of this whole issue. Every angle is very sensitive. When it comes to land, it's sensitive. When it comes to the ethnicity, it's sensitive. How do you delicately balance that you have an amicable solution and compensation? Because you've already asked the people to leave. I saw truckloads leaving when I was leaving Gulu on Sunday. Truckloads left on Saturday when I was there. How do you balance this so that we don't have a country imploding on itself?
I want to thank you very much, Timothy. First of all, me, somebody who works in that region, recently had a tour the region, these 3 sub-regions in the north. I went to Lango, I went to Acholi, I went to West Nile. And I had regional barazas in the open, covered by media, I'm sure.
Yes.
Who were also there. This is how they speak. Have you seen the spirit
Yes.
and the anger the professor used
Yeah.
there? This is what I saw there.
It is just his anger.
I am
not. The
I
people
am-
of
I
Acholi are
am-
not like that.
I was there as a minister, working as a minister, as a Nyampara, listening to the people. And the sentiments are like this. Timothy, this is what I can say. Uganda are many nations brought together to form a country. You have Central here with this own culture and customs, people in the north, in the east, and so on, trying to forge a way of living together. It will only work when each of these respect the way of life and rights of others. And this is the spirit and letter of the president's executive order. Did you read it, Timothy?
Yes, I did. It's
You
right
read
here.
it. I will employ you to read again, and I implore all these colleagues here, Kennedy, Mwenda, to read it. In fact, this is what the president says here. The president does not condemn a tribe. No. The president condemns behavior of a certain people. In fact, in the president's executive order, even highlights that we are getting problems with the Federation of East African Community, because there are some of these member communities who now fear that when you completely federate, there's going to be this rural influx of other people to take over our land. This is happening. Do you also know that not long ago President Magufuli massively evicted people from Tanzania? Do you know about it?
That was Chikwete.
Chikwete?
Jakaya
Yes.
Chikwete.
No, sorry, not Magufuli. May he so rest in peace. President Chikwete.
11,000.
Very good. Do you also know that violent eviction, forceful eviction, happened in Bunyoro? When that time they
14
had
years
that,
ago.
About how many years ago?
14 years ago.
Very good. When there was now information that I think there's some oil here, people that said, but these people have just invaded us here. We hear that there's oil here. Tomorrow when they're paying royalties, to whom will they pay it? That operation was overseen by General Tinyefunza.
Yeah.
Nobody raised the sentiment of tribalism. And this is what I want to say, please, let this not be an angle, looking for a narrative to
silence us.
To silence
No way.
people who are complaining and then guilt trap them. Like you're saying that, can they buy land in Buganda here? I have just asked you, have you ever heard that there's a certain group of people called either Northern or Swacholis who have hurting population and people are complaining about them? Have you heard about them? And should it happen, I can assure you, government will take action. So how do we solve this, like you've said? One, I want to implore that all Ugandans must learn to live together. I have just told you actually that I have learned recently that the Northerners are the most warm and welcoming people. But like Professor said, there are people who are still traumatized by war. And I think this is the president's intention, to protect the people there so that they begin to appreciate their post-war situation, recover
Economically very vulnerable.
For instance, let me tell you, it's been said here, we have talked about all these conditions, but the main thing, let me tell you, the main thing, Timothy, is about land. And now this is the thing. Like Kennedy also tried to talk about it, but he goes away from the strategy. I don't know where he gets it from. Let me tell you, we have gone to these communities, and if I gathered people in this sub-county, he may not tell you what he's telling you here. I'm telling you not. And I'll invite you. I'll go there. I want to invite them and let the people speak freely. And I'll invite you.
You invite me as well.
Yes. And wait. And I want wait. Yes. So what I'm saying is, the president mentioned here that he wants an environment where there is no commotion, no chaos like it is now.
Yeah.
And I also say that the way you have seen, and I think Professor says it, failure of integration and assimilation.
Yeah.
Timothy, in an area in Africa here, where we live in an area where there's us and them, that is very wrong. It's not nice.
Okay.
Why? No, let me bring the point.
Integrated here in Uganda.
No. I have no problem with neighbors. And the issue is, Timothy, like you said,
completely.
Land ownership, land rights in Acholi are very different, are also unique. Much of the land is in Acholi are communal, and the president makes it clear here. You cannot call yourself a land owner and you are not a clan leader, or you are not a member of the family, like call yourself clan leader. The land there is owned communally. Whether it is primitive, it is their way of life. We can improve on that. Now what happens there, which is going to bring a lot of conflicts, that there are some land, that different types of lands there, which have not been used. One, for instance, I'm talking about Acholi. I cannot talk about West Nile. For instance, Acholi, there's what called Timdwa, vast land, nobody there. They just use it for hunting, collecting firewood, and so on and so forth. And it's owned by a clan. As the population increases, they go migrating, push into it. Now, there are some of those lands now that have been sold off. A few, 1 or 2, 3 people who were elites connect and sell their land without consulting
even
the
not
community.
elites, the crooks.
And he said it, he said it, and he said it there. He said it there. Listen, he said there. That they sell conflicted land, and they sold it to a powerful person because they know that they pass it like a hot potato. So that whoever buys it now takes charge with authority and so on. And this is where the problem is, Timothy. And there are very, very many. Each of land. That's why the president says, and indeed, I don't want anybody to be deceived in the north. The president is not evicting anybody. The president is talking about evicting livestock. Please, Kennedy, don't misrepresent the president and don't misrepresent what we say. He's evicting the animals because the conflict is originating from there. After that, the president is going to appoint a committee for verification. And this time, by the way, we want verification to be done both technically and also
communal
in the public.
Yes.
Thank you.
So that this is sorted. And when this is all sorted, once you bought land well and the entire clan have said, we have given out this land to this clan, it's called Timothy.
Yeah.
You will be welcomed and there's not going to be conflict. We do not want...
Will I return my cows?
Yes. We will not want...
At what cost?
We don't
talk about cost.
No,
we are trying to solve a problem.
I don't want this thing to be... I don't want anybody to get worried.
Hold on.
If there are any costs, that warrant attending to, it is the action of government. And the government will attend to it.
Kennedy, let me come to you.
Yes.
How do we solve this problem moving forward?
Minister asked me some questions to substantiate how the whole thing can be a tribal sentiment. If, Honorable Minister, with due respect, if this thing is not done logically, using a well-defined parameter, that is by means of verification, people will doubt your action.
But we are going to do it. I've just told you.
I'm saying, Honorable Minister, I'll respond on your behalf.
Kennedy, should not be post. It should be pre-eviction.
Kennedy, the minister has said, and even in the executive order, the president was clear. Eviction is not the president. Of people.
The president has already issued
livestock. So the livestock goes. Timothy stays on Kennedy's land. After that, a committee is appointed. A law is instituted by the Attorney General. So the committee does the verification, both technical and also with the community. So Timothy is staying. It is his livestock that is going. So how do we, where is your challenge on this when he was talking about ethnicity?
Yeah, Timothy, you see, sometimes we are tempted to think that we listen to all the sentiment in the community more than others. You see, for me, I live most of my time in the community doing my groundwork in terms of what I do.
There are people who are already misled by the minister's evictions. That once
They're the
Balaalo
president's
are
evictions.
evicted-
They're not the
I
ministers.
have never ordered any eviction. The
They're
eviction
not his.
is the order of the
They're
president.
the president's.
Yeah,
Not of monarch.
is the person going to execute it, so
Yes.
he cannot differentiate.
In fact, it
No,
is
no,
the
no.
military executing.
Let's be clear. The
Yeah.
Let's be very
executive
clear. No,
orders
no,
are
no.
from
The
the president.
minister has no power to
No.
do that, my
Please,
friend.
I have no power.
Okay,
He's going
gentlemen,
to
let him
witness
finish.
here. He's
Yes.
going to superintend over it.
No, but
And,
don't.
It's actually the
You
youth
can't
was
get it very clear.
superintending.
Yeah, but also under his guidance as a minister for Northern Uganda, I know at one point you will report.
He is
to
doing
the
his job. You don't know his job.
Exactly.
Please.
Okay.
Exactly.
So don't
Professor-
assume. Please.
Okay.
Professor, I
it
did
is-
not interrupt you.
No,
Kennedy,
it is.
continue.
I am happy
It is annoying.
that in the process of giving his statement, he concurred with me that it is the elite who are buying land in the
No, 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 no.
Which
no,
is
no,
still
no.
true.
He
No,
said,
no, no,
the
no, no.
minister
Up to
said
now,
the
no.
elite are conniving.
Some
to
people,
sell those
not
hunting
necessarily
areas.
elite.
Who are
Because
the
you are not, you,
bandits?
you may not be an elite, maybe. I don't
Have,
know.
have I sold land to?
He's
I'm
an
an
elite.
elite. Have I sold land?
I'm saying
not
some
referring
people.
to you because
Okay.
I'm
this
saying some
mean
people.
the elite. That
Some
is the
people,
same
no.
thing I referred to.
I'm saying
that
some people.
elite.
I'm not saying elite,
Okay.
please. I'm saying some people.
Yes.
Don't misquote me.
But
I'm
guys,
an
so
elite.
easy.
Let me come in.
Kennedy,
No.
I want to ask your friends
Come
here.
in. So,
First of all, these people are not challenging so the transactions of selling land. They are, I have identified one group called Balaalo not to buy land because the Indians buying land there. There are white people buying land. These are Cholis themselves, the elites are buying land in Acholi. So this is not the issue about land ownership and land transaction. They have identified a particular ethnic group of people called Balaalo. And they're saying these people should not buy land. Let me tell you, I can never agree with
no,
that.
that's
let
wrong.
me pick up from
Okay.
there.
I'll
No,
go to
no,
my
no,
list.
no, no, no,
Okay.
that's
So
wrong.
you why
That
don't we
description-
buy you from
that
buying land in
description-
Woya?
that description-
my time.
Gentlemen,
That
come from
description
Canada,
was
why
done
do you
by the
buy
president.
land
Don't
in
take me-
Woya?
This is my
Kenneth
time.
and
This is my time. Listen
Andrew,
to me.
No, no,
Kennedy's
no,
time.
don't
Yeah.
misrepresent
Please allow
us.
Kennedy
We
finish.
asked Kenneth a simple
Listen to
question.
me.
Yes.
He comes
Can
from
I answer?
Kabagamaido.
Listen to
He
me.
bought land
Can I
in
answer?
Woya. Why
Listen
is he
to me.
allowed?
Can I answer?
This is my
You'll
time.
give your
This is my
response.
time.
Yes.
Yes.
Please. I'm saying this.
Yes.
The smooth eviction of the Balaalo must involve the people whom the Balaalo are occupying their land now.
Okay.
Should you underestimate them, that eviction will not be effective. Why?
How do you want them to be engaged?
The eviction is not also talking about if the Balaalo leave my land. I have been earning some income
Yes,
from it.
like
What
someone
will
said.
happen? Who is going to compensate the Balaalo whom I have picked the land like for
See,
us we rent on a yearly
he's
basis?
just talking
Who's
about
going
his
to the
income.
fund?
He's not
Yes,
talking about
we
the
have
bigger
to-
picture.
We have to be mindful because that is an agreement between us.
Okay.
Timothy, let me tell you, this issue is just being overblown for nothing. When you have an agreement between an individual and individual, does it involve government?
He's talking
success
about
for you?
Chama Meti.
Because for
Chama
us,
Meti
as the
Chamia.
landowners,
Chakula
we
ya
know
Chama.
that,
Gentlemen.
we
yes.
know that the people who are renting our land, if they fail to agree or do what exactly we are supposed to agree with them, we expel them easily like that. Now, why would the government come to evict my customer and doesn't tell me how I am going to survive?
I am
when
so
this
happy you are saying
customer
that,
has
yes.
gone? Some of these people who are talking, their children doesn't study in northern Uganda. Ask any of them.
I wish you read the president's secretary properly. I doubt he
one
read
of the
it.
one of the fact is,
what the
if
president
you go to
narrated.
northern Uganda now, you will find the like of the ministers. They are the one having last chunk of land. If you ask professor, how did you acquire your land in Inouye? Probably by that time he bought.
That is
he
a
will
blackmail.
check. Yes,
Go back to the main.
Yes.
I no
That's
longer
blackmail.
have, I no
Go
longer
back
have
to
land
the-
in Noya.
Yes.
That's blackmail.
Yes,
Go back
yes.
to the
No,
main
no,
issue.
I'm not blackmailing it. He said
I
he
no
acquired
longer,
land
I
in
no
Inouye.
longer
By the
have
very small
land.
piece of
How
land.
he acquired by then, you'll find even an acre, probably he could be paying like 200, 600.
But that was in the 70s.
Not 70s.
During the
Just
war,
During
during
this
the
war. Who
war.
was there to sell him the land anyway?
Okay. So
Not even
let's get back to
from
the issue.
around 20.
You're
Let's
talking
get
about
back
the
to the
purchase
issue.
of land
Please.
and the valuation of land
Yes.
now. But the thing is that the minister was asking you was the ethnicity within this contention of the Balaalo and the
Where
squatters.
does it arise from?
You've made it clear that the compensation, you're asking questions about compensation. Who will compensate me who has bought land from you, Kennedy, when I have left? That is the question you've asked. Because the transaction was between me and you. Okay?
Yeah, yeah.
And you
And
can
you're
answer.
asking, and it was also beneficial economically to you.
We can
yes.
answer.
Answer the ethnic question that he asked you.
Yes, that is why I was trying to bring that in. The moment you don't evict this Balaalo on a clear terms, like because for me, I'm still emphasizing that eviction must be done after verification. Why? Verification will tell Mr. Mwenda, who is a tenant to Kennedy, has not complied. He doesn't have a permanent water source. He has not fenced his land. He has been beating people. There are this police case against him. Then let him go. Even Mwenda will not have the audacity even to claim any money that he could have paid me, because you know that these are my faults. Why I'm leaving? Why are you pushing someone to leave?
You are saying
you evict me
without verification?
Gentlemen,
this eviction,
Kennedy, let me come back to you.
Like
why you not evicting
someone would know? Because for me, my English teacher taught me that the opposite of indiscipline is discipline. Much as the presidential executive order talk of the indisciplined Balaalo, they are also the disciplined Balaalo. This is a fact that we have to admit.
But are indisciplined Acholis?
Okay.
In fact, I ask this question. Let me ask you, Timothy. Aren't there Acholis who graze cows and they kuonesa other people's crops?
Can I answer that one?
Why do you identify only Balaalo?
Can I answer that one?
Gentlemen.
Can I answer that one?
Honorable Minister, hold on. Let me read some feedback. Good evening. I'm from Kitugum. I'm a good law-abiding citizen, just like any other Ugandan prevailing against the case that we are following right now. The Balaalo should also have a law abiding. If the law says land can't be sold, when the law says land belongs to the clan, we should follow it. Should we just do things because we want to do them the way we are? There are people who do not fear the law,
so can I
that manipulate the few people.
Let no Acholi buy land in Acholi. Latiko should not buy land. Okello should not buy land. Sanjeev should not buy land. James Smith should not buy land. But they are not saying that guy should be answered. The problem here is not that they're saying people should not buy land. They're saying Balaalo as a specific ethnic group should be banned from buying land in Acholi, because Latiko here has admitted he bought land.
Thank you,
Kenneth has bought land.
Andrew, thank you.
There are white people who own land, Indians who own land, who are buying land in Acholi.
Joyce sends a message from Gulu and says, let me be educated. The Acholi land and agricultural land, but it's not pastoral. Please, when you say it is land for pastoral, what does that mean? We all built in Kampala and have moved there. Can we move there without cattle? There are very many non-Acholi that have built in Acholi land. They must stay peacefully. The Balaalo issue is different and it must be solved from a multifaceted issue. The presidential order is not a solution. We need to solve it from the different facets that it has there. Thank you very much, Joyce. Kennedy, someone says, Kennedy will call it, because the landowner, when land is customary, there are so many people that are aggravated by it. Ochola from Agago says...
but Timothy, I want to answer that guy. Who are these landowners who have complained, who have sold land and complained? The people here has not, his land has not been grabbed. He's the one complaining. This is a morning more than believed.
Gentlemen, now we're going to have hold on,
we
Kennedy.
couldn't bring all land over.
Gentlemen, hold on.
Can we bring them all here?
You
all bring all
those.
The conference of landowners.
Gentlemen, Andrew and the Honorable Minister, we're coming to the end of the show, so you're each going to give parting shots. But the issue here that I hope Professor and the Honorable Minister can respond to is the purchase, which Andrew is specifically on. But also, Andrew specifically, Balaalo are not an ethnic tribe. There are various people. There are people that have come from Tanzania, Rwanda, and different facets of this country. So it is not an ethnic tribe. Your parting shots in 2 minutes, then Andrew, then Professor.
Who told you that Balaalo are not an ethnic group?
Andrew, the ones that were chased by Kikwete from Tanzania were from Burundi, some were from Rwanda. We have some from Toro. So when you say Balaalo are an ethnic group, what group is that in the Constitution?
What is an ethnic group to you?
The Bantu.
No.
The Banyankore.
There are people who have a particular identity. In the Toro and Burundi they are called Bahuma. In Ankole they are called Bahima. In Rwanda and Burundi they are called Batutsi.
What defines
they live off cows. That's what defines them. They are pastoralists, they are called Balaalo.
Kennedy, your 2 minutes, your parting shots. I'll come to Andrew. Professor,
my parting shot is like this, Timothy. Any eviction that is done without verification is going to bring more problem than it is now. 2, the issues of land questions in Acholi land will not be solved by the Balaalo eviction. If the president wants to correct the mess in the land transaction in Acholi land, I would even request him to issue a directive, another executive order, cancelling all the land transactions from the time people return from camps up to now. And you will see the people who will be pleading, running to State House to beg him, because the affected will be the real elites that I have been talking. You will see them in the open running that President don't implement your executive, because it will affect the real grabbers of land in Achole land and the real people who manipulated the land sale in Achole land. So let us not hide under, in daytime we pretend to be very good, but even down there we are not. If you investigate all of us who comes from Achole land, you will find either way we have some mistake we have made. So I have accepted that the landowners, we have made some mistake, government has made some mistake, our leaders have made some mistake. We should not make more mistake. Let this verification be paused, the eviction be paused, the verification come first, such that whoever is living live on a clean sheet, know that I am going because it was my fault. I have never fines, I have never put permanent source of water. I have
Kennedy,
not
allow me
been
to
with
get
the
to
community
Andrew.
well.
Thank you very
As
much.
the landowners, we are not against the presidential executive order.
Thank you. You have spoken and told us what needs to be done is the verification before the eviction.
Yes.
Andrew, your 2 minutes.
Actually, may I go beyond Kennedy? Kennedy, I think he's very much, his position is much more reasonable. These people should buy it. In fact, my position is this.
That's what we are not.
Why
agents.
should the demand be?
We are not agents.
Let me show, mine is even more extreme than his. Why does government of Uganda demand that a particular identity group called Balaalo should be the ones, to have fenced their land, to have a source of water in their land? It should be everybody who grazes cows in Acholi should have that. You cannot make a law to only deal with one group, one identity group. You are saying, I disagree with you on it. Why is it only Balaalo required to meet these 4 conditions? If my grandson, Kenneth Omona here, my other grandson, his cousin, Latigo Morris, if they have cows, why are they not subject to the same standard? How can the president issue a directive or government of Uganda pass a law which requires that the law can only be applied to one ethnic group?
Okay.
That the only the Batoro should raid borders on the left. Everybody else is, this is outrageous. I can never accept it.
Professor Ogenga Latigo, your parting shots.
Professor doesn't want to speak. I'll speak on his behalf.
I know for Andrew, I have no problem. But
you can't have a problem
I get this guy claiming to be Landowners Association. They are not being asked to refund the money or anything. And first of all, when we say this, we are conscious of what happened in this country before. When under President Museveni something happens, that people only have no power to stop it. When President Museveni leaves, they will have power to deal with that thing. I don't want a situation where the Balaalo go by the strength of their money to settle in Acholi. I want them to come by a relationship. I can tell you, the Minister for Local Government farms in Nwaya. Why hasn't he been chased? Because he's doing the same farming like any of us. He went there not because he had money, but he had friends. This is not the case. And then when you, all of a sudden, there's a massive inflow. Let me tell you, Ugandans, for us in Acholi, and because I speak the truth, the matter which is in the land and in the earth, if it is not removed, those who are telling you it is okay, they are deceiving you. When the time comes, those matters will come out and the country will suffer. I don't want the country to suffer. I want it to be resolved so that we move on as one people.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, lastly.
Thank you very much, Timothy, and I want to thank my my panelists here, and I want to thank those who have spent their time, their night listening to us and watching us. First of all, I want to say this, and let me look at and say this direct in the camera. Uganda belongs to all of us, and there is nothing tribal about this exercise. It's about a behavior of a group of people who want to undermine others and cause disunity and make people think that others probably hate us or hate them. This is very wrong. And I really want to totally reject this narrative from Andrew Mwenda and my brother there. There's nothing tribal about this. Balaalo were chased from Tanzania. It wasn't tribal. Balaalo were chased and acted violently from Bunyoro. Nobody said it was tribal. So why are you now tracing the narrative to want to blackmail, guilt trap people from North to say this tribal? This is not tribal. Secondly, this is what I want to say. I want to thank President Museveni for his great wisdom. To be honest, to be very, very honest, sometimes Museveni's wisdom is very rare.
It's not understood quickly.
Not very understood quickly. But as well, very, very wise old man. He has foreseen the future, and he makes it there said, we don't want to make these mistakes, because the way I see, I think coexistence is not happening. Now let me ask you as I wind up, Timothy, when you're a visitor in an area, you and the host, who should learn the ways of the other?
The visitor.
If you are a visitor who wants the host to learn yours, then it is what the president calls colonial style of unfairness, which can never be allowed under the national resistance movement, which is a liberation movement that must unite this country. This country must unite, but not by interpreting the laws and principles selfishly, only in favor of others. We must all unite and be free and live with one another in the way that respects the way of life of other people.
Thank you.
And this is what we want. And I can tell you, by the way, in next few years, actually, West Nile and Lango will be one of the most sought after in terms of investment for socio-economic transformation. But we want to make it orderly.
Thank you.
We want to make it orderly.
Honorable
And
Minister,
the process the president proposes, we hope, is a good start for that.
You have committed to take Andrew and myself to be able to see some of the things you're talking about, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So Andrew has had. So the gentlemen on the panel, thank you very much for coming here. The production team for making today possible. For you who has watched and all that have sent in messages, unfortunately we couldn't read all of them. But we'll end it this way. The best mathematics you can learn is how to calculate the cost of your current decision for your future. Good morning.
The government's core mandate is to maintain